We are honored and a bit impressed to have with us today Disney's animation legend, Mark Henn. Hello, Mark.
Good morning.
And thank you for being with us. It's actually not the morning anymore, but you must be a bit jet-lagged.
Yeah, it's a little later in the afternoon here, but it's good to be here in Annecy.
It's not your first time here.
It is. It is my first time to Annecy.
How come is it the first time for such an animator like you?
Nobody ever asked before, I guess.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely.
Well, this
would have been here.
This is something wrong, and we have to apologize for not inviting you before. Because for those who don't know, Mark is an animation legend. You've been giving life, giving anima to so many characters. One of them, the most iconic maybe, would be Simba. What are your favorite animation chapters in your life?
Well, as you mentioned, Simba, and we're celebrating 30 years of The Lion King this year, which is very special. But I've also had the opportunity to animate a lot of our leading ladies, or princesses. So Belle, Ariel, Jasmine, Mulan, Tiana, Giselle, and Enchanted. So we've done a lot of our leading ladies.
So there is some experience and some type of characters, I guess. And when you do a lot of leading ladies, you are even better at the next ones. Is it how it goes?
Well, the approach is like an acting job, and hopefully, you learn from the previous, experience of animating a character, but that you have to remember this is a brand new character, and so you have to come up with all new characteristics for that character. So for me, I went from Ariel to Belle to Jasmine. I did 3 of our leading ladies back to back to back, which by the time I got to Jasmine, I hit a bit of an artistic block, which my younger sister helped me. She kind of became my muse to kind of get me over that artistic block, because I didn't want to just, simply repeat what I had done with Belle or Ariel. So I had to make sure Jasmine was a unique character as well.
Is there always a muse in the animation of a character? And if so, who was Simba's?
Well, Simba, there's usually some spark, something that you grab a hold of to start crafting the performance and building the character around. In Simba's case, the story as it developed, became one source of inspiration. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, who provided the voice for young Simba, was certainly an inspiration for myself. And the visual development artists, were starting to, give me ideas about, what a lion cub would look like. And then the research that we got to do, working with actual animals in the studio and getting to know what makes a lion, was very inspirational. So you take all of that information, and I kind of collected and put it together to create the character Simba.
If we go back to your first steps, what would be the very first animated character that animated you when you were a kid?
Well, when I was a small boy, the first feature film that I saw was Disney's Cinderella. So Cinderella was very inspirational to me. Again, one of our princesses. So maybe that was kind of where I got started. But yeah, that was a big inspiration for me.
And it has inspired your student work in animation, your first professional gigs, I would say, in animation?
Well, when I started at the studio, I came on as an assistant on the Fox and the Hound movie, and then I got a promotion to full animator shortly after that. So my first animation assignment at Walt Disney was Mickey Mouse for Mickey's Christmas Carol, which I always thought was a very special assignment.
It is. You were at Disney's for almost 50 years. You must have been in interaction with a lot of amazing animation minds, like Eric Goldberg, that was here last year. What can you say about this amazing path you had? Is there some milestones we wouldn't know and you would share?
Well, I've been very blessed to have kind of been part of that next generation from the original generation, Walt's 9 Old Men. I actually got to know 6 of the 9 Old Men, with Eric Larson being my most closest mentor. He was in charge of the training program. So our paths crossed for about the first 5 or 6 years of my career before he finally retired. But I got to know Frank and Ollie and Ward Kimball and Mark Davis as well along the way. And they were my heroes, animation heroes. And when you get enough courage up to go talk to them or ask them a few questions, they were very, very generous in sharing what they, answering your questions and sharing their advice. So it's been really a neat to be a part of what was become known as the second golden age of Disney animation, where we, took the baton from the first generation and then, wanted to continue it, but also wanted to put our own stamp on Disney animation and tell our own stories, our new stories.
So you've learned with the very first generation, the legends, and you've become one, actually, to pass on some legacy to the third and maybe fourth generation already. How did you embrace this role of not teacher, but mentor or?
It's, it just seems like a very natural step for me at this point in my career. And we have an amazingly talented group of young artists coming into the studio. And they have the same kind of respect for my generation as we had for the first generation. And they're willing and eager to hear and take in any comments, ideas. So I have really enjoyed working with them, and a lot of them become very close friends, and it's just very exciting to see the work that they're doing.
It's something we hear sometimes, that the new generation is impatient, and we know that animation needs a lot of work, a lot of time. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's true that they are pushy and not as passionate as you used to be, as you were?
Oh, I wouldn't say that they're necessarily pushy. I think, the world of animation has changed drastically since when I started. Mobility, the fact that a lot of artists aren't staying in one place, mm-hmm. is probably one of the biggest changes. And so there's much more opportunities out there. So artists can come to Disney, and if they like it or don't like it, they may want to move on and go work somewhere else for a while. They can always come back. So I find that kind of the most interesting aspect to this younger generation, is the mobility of with all the studios across the world now, wanting animators and art directors and artists involved. That's something that was not necessarily a big part of my generation. It did happen a little bit, but it wasn't. People wanted to go to Disney and stay at Disney as long as they possibly could. From my generation,
it leads us to a topic which is AI. How do you think artificial intelligence will participate in Disney's work as much as all the animation works?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I honestly don't know, because I don't know what the application is of AI. So I really can't answer you. I really don't know a lot about it right at this point. I haven't seen it, come into the studio yet. But to me, it's about, how is it going to be used? And I don't know how it's going to be used, so I can't really say one way or the other. If it helps tell the story, then it's probably going to be worth it. But what those applications are, I don't know yet.
Well, we'll see if the tool finds its place in the studio.
Absolutely.
Let's go back to The Lion King, because it's a celebrating year, 30 years of Lion King souvenirs, memories. Would you share maybe the most secret memory you have about this amazing adventure that must have been?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind was the fact that when it was in development, we were developing several pictures at the same time at that point. And Pocahontas was considered the A film, the film that everybody wanted to be on, and The Lion King, or as it was in its original state, King of the Jungle, was kind of the B movie. And so it was, you know, the studio was really kind of leaning heavily on, you know, Pocahontas as being their big movie for, you know, the next production. And so to see King of the Jungle go through its metamorphosis of story and become the Lion King, you know, then they brought in Elton John and Tim Rice for the music, and it just very quietly just started to grow and grow and grow, and you know, an enthusiasm amongst the artists as we really enjoyed it. And I was at the Florida studio at the time, and a lot of our artists particularly had a background in wildlife painting and as wildlife artists. So they were very excited to be doing this animal picture. We likened it to it being kind of our Bambi in some respects. And it was just a lot of fun. It was just a lot of fun. And for me, one post-Lion King memory was we celebrated one of the DVD releases, and they sent me to Africa for a week, which was an amazing, amazing trip. And we went to various actual locations that resembled a lot of the different locations in the movie, and that was very special.
Thank you for sharing this with us. I know that you have well, some beautiful schedule to attend in your first Annecy this year. We will be together tomorrow on the stage of Annecy's Paquet, which is the vast space right before the lake.
Oh, yes.
And we will celebrate The Lion King. Mm-hmm. Are you excited about that? And
I am, as long as the rain holds off.
Well,
I'm looking forward to it.
You're a professional, and you know we have to take in account every aspect. Indeed. We'll see tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mark, for your sincerity and your presence with us. Thank you for what you did at Disney's and a life of animation that animated us. And we are sorry that we did not invite you before in Annecy, but we have a lot of surprise for you till tomorrow. And we hope you will enjoy this first festival.
Well, my wife and I are having a great time here this week so far. So thank you for having us.
Let's keep on a little, but how do you vibrate with Annecy and its audience and all this animated scenery that is unique in the world, actually?
It's you know, like we mentioned earlier, just to see the world of animation just grow and grow. I mean, and Annecy is a perfect example of just the vast scope of what's out there in the world in animation. Very different from when I started. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of really good energy. Meeting a lot of the young students and young animators, and we had a great time on Tuesday. We had almost 150 young artists, come by for a meet and greet, and I love and enjoy meeting, the new students, new animators that are coming into an industry that's kind of, boundless in terms of, the imagination of all these people.
It's limitless.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe one last question, if you please. What would be your advice to all those young animators that are looking at you, at us, at this festival?
Yes, because that's one of the #1 questions that I often get from these young students. And make yourself as good of an artist as you possibly can be. Study, be the best artist that you can be. Diversify. You need to make yourself as hireable in different areas as you possibly can. Would be one thing. For a lot of people who are studying 2D animation, which is great, that's kind of the foundation. I always encourage them to make sure they pick up some rudimentary computer skills, because a lot of the jobs involve computer animation, and using that as a tool. the thinking's the same. All the philosophy of 2D animation transfers to computer animation without any problem. It's just the tool's a little different. And you know, that's where a lot of the jobs are these days. And so that's what they need to, you know, pick up a little rudimentary skills in that. So if somebody asks them if they can say, yes, I can. So those are some of the things I try to encourage people to do.
And that's precious. Thank you very much, Mark, and enjoy as much as you can and see and whatever it will bring you.
Thank you very much for having me.